Hello and welcome to episode 7 of How to Heal. I am your host, MikaLeone-Pettit. And for the next month, or couple of months, we're going to actually spotlight some beautiful women that I've just been getting to know and hoping that we all will become great friends. This episode, we'll be having an intimate conversation with Danielle Dufour. She is one of the amazing women that was published in the Women of Spirit Volume 2 with me, and the book launch is March 1st. So Danielle is an integrative counselor, an ordained minister, a certified yoga teacher, a certified quantum touch practitioner, and she also has a social worker background. And also I'd like to mention that she's a certified canoe instructor. And she's going to tell you how all this comes together. I hear Danielle laughing in the background. Hi, Danielle. Welcome.
Hello.
To Heal.
Hello, Mika. Thank you for having me.
How is your day going and how are things? And you are in what part of BC?
I'm in British Columbia, Canada.
On the lake?
Right on a big lake. Yep. It's called Shuswap Lake.
Shuswap. I didn't want to pronounce it incorrectly. Shuswap Lake. And how's the weather out there? And what's the vibe?
Well, it's pretty, everyone out here is pretty awake around the, whole situation worldwide.
Oh, good.
Our community is really supportive of each other. I love it here. Sunny day today, but, there's snow, right? But it's warm. It's getting warmer and things are melting today. And so it's feeling pretty, that spring fresh feeling kind of in the air right now.
Awesome. And you have a family out there? Tell me a little.
I have a partner here and we have a little puppy. And I have a sister and my dad are in New Brunswick, but we're thinking of heading home that way sometime, but we love BC. The weather is beautiful and it's hard to leave.
I love BC as well. When I lived in Washington State, I used to go up to British Columbia, to Vancouver all the time. I loved going up there.
So we're about 3.5 hour drive from Vancouver.
Oh, you're more. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So let's start out, Danielle. You have a very interesting background, very eclectic. We're going to go into how you began your healing journey.
Yeah. So in terms of, we were talking about a few things where we would go with this. So I guess I can talk to you a little bit about just even when I was, things that have been happening for me lately where I've had these realizations about when I was younger, when I was a kid, like pre-grade 1. And the influence that school has on children to snuff out any gifts that they do have. Yes. Any kind, we know that's why they're after our kids now, because intuitively children have such magical abilities when they're just, I guess we'll call them when they're not programmed.
Exactly, and when they're sponges, but I believe they say before the age of 7, they absorb so much. So it's a really perfect time to get a hold of them.
Exactly, and so I remember and having always hearing voices. It wasn't like like any type of mental health disorder at all or anything like that. It was just more always whispering, always messages that I couldn't understand or hear, or really I wasn't able to articulate when I was a little girl, right? So that kind of happened. And then of course, when I went to school, and my mom was very understanding. Luckily, even in school, I remember, grade 1, 2, they wanted to have me on medication, teachers. And my mom said no, because not about hallucinating or anything like that. It was more just about, I was such a free spirit. School just stifled my spirit. That's all I can say. And we'll leave it at that. And
Danielle, let me clarify here. So you're saying that they wanted to put you on medication. Is it because you were saying that you were having experiences that other people weren't having?
I think it was more because I just wouldn't settle. Like, it just was school. Now looking back, school was such a, I guess, an oppression towards who I was as this like spiritual being, a spiritual child at the time. It was just, didn't resonate with me as a being at that time. And it's, and I didn't understand how to explain that. And there was no such thing. It was 1980, right? There was no such thing as homeschooling or anything like that. And the teachers paddled you then, right? And they did a lot of things to us in grade 1, which just, I remember many, many, stifling moments, we'll call it.
Exactly.
And so after that, I just don't, I forgot about, I just don't recall hearing anyone talk to me after that. There was lots of times where I think it just I forgot about it all. And then as I progressed my mom was sick my whole life, which was hugely insightful for what I know now to be, our bodies are our guide, and growing up with mom always having this need for external fixes and the newest product and the new and all of the, following of the Rockefeller sick care system. And so that was a big support for me, because it helped me see what I didn't agree with and what was not in alignment with what I come to know now as deep truth.
Yes.
So, so then, my mom and dad didn't really pay much attention to me when I was growing up. And so they did, but they didn't. They were beautiful parents. I love them. Love them. Nothing wrong. Just did what they knew at the time. Exactly. And what they could do. So anyways, I went into party mode, and a lot of my teenage years was spent exploring, honestly, any kind of drugs or alcohol that I could
yes, you mentioned between 14 and 20.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Child specifically.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into it too much, Mika, but I'll sum it up like this. There was right across from our high school, there was in New Brunswick, there was a what you call magic mushroom field just across the road.
Wow.
So, there was some experimental, they went through a phase where lots of, experiments and things like that with drugs. And I think, honestly, I look back at those moments knowing now what kids are going through, and I just think they were just so much fun. And I don't know, I wouldn't take them back for anything now.
Great. Those experiences made you who you are, right?
Yeah. So, exactly. But interestingly enough, I always worked even when I was 18, I started working at income assistance in my hometown. And even though I was going out and partying on the weekends, I was working all the time, and I was pretty, I guess you'd call responsible as a young teen. And then I feel like that experience working at income assistance, working with clients right away in my late teens, was something that really kind of started my human service career.
Exactly. Is that what led you into social work?
No, actually, at that time, I didn't go to social work. I didn't go to university till I was 30. Okay. So I actually explored with a lot of different things and with jobs before that. But of course, it had a basis for sure. And my direct supervisor was phenomenal and gave me and that's kind of, I guess, where I should probably highlight is a couple of jobs that I had when I was younger, all really had a focus of personal development. So I think that, a lot of times when 50-year-old people that haven't had any, personal development or any exposure to that would say, oh, I want to meditate, or I really want to learn to, channel messages from universal source. Well, I would say you got a lot of work to do yet, right? And maybe you don't, but most people do.
Yes.
And so I think, that was the gift that I was given, is getting that stuff early. Mm-hmm. So that I really was forced to kind of look at myself in a job situation where, I had no way to say no. They were paying me. So yeah, I had to sit through these color workshops and motivational sessions, and how do you, respect other people's personality types and things like that. And I think that created a really deep understanding of humanity, of other people aren't thinking like I am kind of situation.
Give you a broader perspective, be able to relate to more people, have more compassion. Yeah, exactly.
And so now, looking at the work we both do, or I do now too, is that, that was completely necessary. And a blessing to have it happen that early in my life so that I could actually have that basis and that
And this was
foundation.
from what age, Danielle?
I worked at Income Assistance, and then I came out to Calgary when I was about 21. I worked in high performance sport. So I worked with actually the first women's Olympic hockey team. We did logistics for them. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But both those positions back to back had extreme amount of personal development for employees, and also the exposure with the Olympics, sitting in on different, everything from media prep to, how do you respond to things? How do you, conduct yourself? And then again, personal development workshops, motivational workshops, team building workshops, trust building, all that kind of stuff. And they were big on, staff retreats and stuff. So all of that, those two back-to-back were about, I worked 5 years in hockey, in high performance hockey, and I worked 4 years for Income Assistance. So it combined, 9 years. That was pretty powerful in terms of that. And then that, in between there, that's when I did all my kind of fun stuff, learned to be a raft guide and canoe instructor and that kind of stuff, just from knowing. And then that, the canoe instructor and the raft guide, I'll just pull in that part of kind of self-development. People think, oh, that's not self-development, but let me tell you, it's huge. And really self-development in a way that
give us an example for people out there that are like, oh, really? I'm interested in those things.
Absolutely. You know how I became a raft guide? I phoned them up.
You just called them?
I phoned them, but, and I kind of bragged myself up as young, right? So the guy said, well, what do you know about rafting? And I said, well, I've paddled quite a bit, but I just forgot to tell them that it was like with a 6-pack in my canoe and, But I said, oh, I was missing the water from back home. And I said, what do you do? What do I have to do to be a raft? He said, well, all I have is raft guide positions. And I said, well, what do you have to do to be a raft guide? Well, I train you and you have to come out. So what that taught me was we did a lot of, search and rescue or swiftwater rescue training, and teaching me to put myself first, which I never had done really, or think of myself first, which was in my spiritual journey and awakening was one of the things that I needed to do, because I would never do that. Even in my relationships with men, I would just go and help and not think of me or what I needed or what I wanted or anything about me. So interesting.
And this made it the first time that your focus started to go in this direction and say, wow, I need to think about myself here.
Yeah.
A little more than, and help people more that way as well.
Well, it was fascinating to me. And then how, swiftwater rescue was totally embedded. And I keep saying search and rescue because I did do search and rescue for many years, but all of that is all about you first. And if you're in danger, then you're not going to help anybody else. Or if you're putting yourself, so it was so shifted for me. And then I moved into working with group home kids. And I worked, that was even more, again, human service field, but also, again, putting myself first. Because often people would say, well, oh my goodness, how do you work with those kids? I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, well, you know what? I always said right from the get-go, I'm like, I'm facilitating their experience. I can't change their experience for them. Mm-hmm. And you know what, Mika, I looked at your work in terms of soul contract work, and I'll tell you what, that made me realize, you know what, I don't have the authority or what gives me the right to ever think that I could go in here and scoop this child up and change his life for him or her. Right. I can be there as a supporter, facilitator, and show them what I love them. But also it was about managing my own, engagement in that, and it's like allowing people to own their own life, own their own path. So that taught me that. So I mean, these experiences, when you're living them, you don't think they're going to add up,
right?
To all of the
like what does this have to do with what my career or what I'm doing? And then you realize it's all like a growth journey to make you more of a better person,
and directing you to where you need to be, and giving you the perfect experiences. And the thing is, the ones you would ask me about we're going to talk about some of the profound moments.
Yeah.
Well, there's been so many, and some.
What stands out to you? What stands out to you that you think the audience would like resonate with or feel like, wow, I needed to hear that?
Well, in terms of a spiritual awakening, it's a process. It's not going to, I think various situations in my life happened exactly in the timing that I needed them the most. And let me tell you, they weren't all in a little basket wrapped in a ribbon. They were the hellish moments of my life.
Yes. They usually
Well,
are.
I'll tell you one example. And looking back, I could tell you a few group home kid examples, but I'll tell you something a little more recent. And just in terms of my work as a probation officer, and I'll tell you this, Mika, I've never told anyone, no one really knows this about me. So you're hearing a few things that I haven't really shared.
Oh,
And
thank you for sharing them with me. Thank you.
so I just feel it's time and I can share now, So, I mentioned to you that I was a little bit of a wild child. And, when I was younger, I did go to jail once. And it wasn't anything serious. I'll tell you, it was for driving to endanger and failing to stop for a police officer.
Wow.
So that's a whole other thing. But just that was a little segment.
How long did you have to go to jail for that?
I went to jail. I actually, what happened was I live on a border town. I was 19, I think, at the time, and I had all these older friends, and we went across the Main to a bar, and then of course I had like fake ID and get in the bar and drink, and then I was driving this car at the time. It was a 76 Dodge Dart Swinger, and if you've ever seen a car like that, there are these huge, it looked like the clown car, and it fit about 10 girls in it, all at the same, just cram them in. Big, long, old car. And it was the color of like the General Lee off the Dukes of Hazzard, that orange. My dad bought it. Anyway, saved him $500 or saving me wrecking his car, I think is what it was. But anyhow, I shouldn't have been driving, but we drove because it was literally like a 5-minute drive from the bar to back to Canada. And now, mind you, this is back when we freely came back and forth across the border. It's nothing
Yes.
like it is now.
Those days. Yes.
No, back then the custom officer would not come out of the little booth. He'd wave, type in your license plate, so you're from, that town, and he would be like,
yeah,
like really. So, not a huge. But anyway, we left with my really standoutish car. And of course, the police pull out right behind us because they sat there at that bar. It was a busy one, and they pulled out behind me, and the girls started screaming at me not to stop. So I just kept going. Didn't speed, but
you didn't stop.
I didn't stop, and I went to our Canadian side, and our Canadian police, and the American police to have these issues with each other. So then I didn't have to go back. But then, if I wanted to go to the States again, I had a little court date, so then I went, and then the judge said, "Oh, these Canadians can't keep coming over here doing what they want to do." So I had to go to jail for 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
But I can go in the States freely now. And so that was long time ago. So I didn't even want to get into that one really, but that one's kind of a fun one. But the really purposeful one that we should be talking about in terms of, and this is really the lesson is about, in your lowest moments, later on in life, you're going to look back and see really, if you're paying attention, that was actually your greatest gift. So, and I'm going to try to really, I know you said, with time and whatnot, I won't try to go on with this story, but when I was in Calgary, I had an incident. I had a rental house, and I had some boys growing some pot in the basement, and I was out of town, and I came home to having a voicemail saying that I needed to come in and speak to the police. They were over at the house, and I was like, what the heck? So in any case, I won't get into too much detail. I went in, and it wasn't just a discussion. They arrested me. And so I'm like, what the heck? And because I had kind of done not a whole lot wrong, I was just like, well, I was kind of light about it, and
right.
And no, they were upset that I was so light about it. And take me down to the station downtown. And this is Calgary, where I actually became a probation officer. Okay, same cell, same everything, this is the cool part. So I'm fine at first, I was like, okay, it was afternoon. I had my friend at the time, guy, came, brought me off. It was all good. I thought I'll clear this all up. No, so he takes me downtown, and it was kind of an attitude. And then, and I was asking him, because at the time I was kind of fascinated with corrections anyway. And I was thinking I might want to do something in that area. And I was asking him like, about his job while I'm in the back of the car going downtown.
You're checking out the job to see if it's something that fits for you. That's probably why you were there.
Yeah, well, so he was irritating him though, because I think he thought I was a bad guy.
And you're
in any
terrified.
case, yeah, and I should have been scared. So he gets me downtown, and we go in. He puts me in the cell with all these other women, and it was actually the most blissful experience because, yeah, all these women were in there, and like quite a few, like I don't know, 10 or 15 women that had been arrested that day for something, and they were all sitting around with like blankets and cuddling and telling their story. So I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And so then they take me out of the cell by myself and go and do my fingerprints, which wasn't so great because I was like, well, this is kind of serious now. And
Yeah.
in any case, when I get back to the cell, all the ladies are gone. They're all gone. And I'm there by myself with no blankets. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is serious now. And I got a little bit freaked out. And then I'm there all night, and the guards would not speak to me. I was asking them what's going on. Nobody would say anything. I'm like, do I not get to see people? Like, to get out of here? Like, what's going on here? No, left me there all by myself. Like, it was awful, actually. I was crying. It was terrible. So I get to see the judge. They let you out, and you go in the morning. It was like 8 a.m. or something with JP. They call it the JP, which I learned after from being evil. So they call it the JP comes in. She's just a regular lady that's not really a judge, but she does justice of the peace. So she comes in, and I sit there, and I'm crying. I'm all upset because I've been there all night. It was like, at this point, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And so then she, of course, I tell her my story. She asked me a few questions, left me out right away. But here's I was my lowest, because here I'm then I go to the desk or wherever to get my stuff, cell phone, I guess, or whatever they would have taken. And then at this place where the police let you out, okay, so you have to know downtown Calgary, but it's like the scummiest part of the town, right, where they let you out of this little overnight cell. And when I don't know, they must have said get out or whatever. So I walk out this door, and it literally slams so hard behind you. It was probably could have even before 8 a.m. So the only people are around downtown are like homeless people, and it was just
that are already living down there. Yes.
It wasn't really cool. And so they slam this door so loud. I look behind me, and it's like you wouldn't even know the door was there. It was like a concrete. They let me out on like the C-train line, and just like, boom, get out.
Wow.
So I'm crying on the street. I call my friend who had my truck, and come get me. Luckily, he was a beautiful soul. He's a beautiful soul. And that was my lowest moment. And then, I got off with that. Nothing happened in the end of it. I didn't have, like, my lawyer, totally got, nothing. I walked away with nothing. But that one night, every single time, I was a probation officer for 7 years, and I was responsible to work with the no fixed address population.
Let me stop you there, Danielle.
Yeah.
How did you go from them just pushing you out into the middle of an alley, and now you're a probation officer?
Crazy, right? I know.
How did that experience you? Seriously, yes. Tell me more.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure the audience is curious as well.
Well, it is just crazy, right? But like, that's how I say it's like my guides bonking me on the head to do stuff. Like, because oftentimes I am thick like wall, anyway. So after that, I was still working in hockey at the time, but that's when I started working in the group homes, right away after that. And, I started doing kind of simultaneous energy discovering a bit of that component of myself, like whether it's through just introduction to people and knowing people. I started actually working in group homes first, and then I left that and started working full time as a canoe instructor, just because for a season, because it was just so happened they needed me. It was just a weird situation I normally wouldn't have done. But that season that I was working as a canoe instructor, I always had chronic neck pain. I guess this is a good segue to that, because that was another one of my continuous, I guess, what do you want to call it? Continuous kicks in the butt, I guess, to get going in a certain direction, incentive. And so anyways, I was working as a canoe instructor, and I still, again, probably mid-20s at this point. And I had a girlfriend, she was also a canoe instructor. She was there with me at this particular moment and came behind me and just felt around my head. And she said, "Oh, she goes, what's going on with your neck?" And I had never told her anything. I said, "Well, I don't know. I can't even turn my head basically without it being sore, like ever."
Right.
And so she said, "Why don't you come see me?" And I'm like, she had a little office. She did meditation and guided meditation, and she called herself holistic health practitioner, kind of like his.
Exactly.
And and so we did. That's when my first experience really with vision, with seeing. I was seeing what she could see, and she was seeing what I was seeing through the guided meditation. And what it uncovered was what I already.
Let me make sure it's.
Yeah, so I went to Erin's. So I said, and so you were also asking me, about following intuition, right? And how do you know when to follow your intuition? Well, when doors open, follow them, right? So Erin came behind me, waved her hand, said, "Come to my office." If I would have said no, what would have happened? Right? So you got to say yes. You got to open yourself up to something you wouldn't normally do. And I would never normally have done that, you guys. Like normally, like I told you, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was when I was a young kid.
Yeah, that's very
And I
true.
was working in high performance hockey at the time, or just had left there and went into the group home scene, but just had left there, which was, that would have been absolute faux pas. You do not, like, that's, spirituality wouldn't be, on the forefront of their mind. It would be, it wouldn't be like that. So that was always, it was never something I would have done, but I said yes, because she had made it, she knew, for one, that I had heat back there. And for another, she just, was so, I really enjoyed her. And so I said, "Okay, I'll trust you, then I'll go." So, and it was the first experience of many levels. It was just the beginning of what ended up being a very traumatic past life that I was having experiences through. And people, maybe I might have not believed that was what it was, but I've had so many kind of intricate confirmations that it can't be, I would never deny it now.
It's not denied. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so even in that first session, Erin was amazing. She basically did a guided meditation. And and that was the first kind of time where I was kind of brought back to seeing my own gifts. I had been told by tarot readers and things like this that I have gifts and stuff, but I mean, really seeing it for myself. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I had seen it in my third eye. And so that's where it ends up being. It's like, it was like a movie. And it's not like I can hear people talking, but I can feel what they're saying. It's hard to describe. But anyone who's experienced a guided meditation, it's similar to that. You're just watching a movie in your mind, and as long as you stay focused and not dismiss yourself, not dismiss what's coming forward. I think that's what ends up happening for people, is they'll get distracted, dismiss what just happened, and then say, "Oh, that couldn't have happened."
Yeah, exactly. It's in my mind.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big thing, is to not dismiss stuff. I mean, you don't want to make stuff up. But anyway, so Erin did that session, and when she said, "What are you seeing?" And she was the type of really nice guide, asking me what I was seeing. And I expressed, there's people all around. Basically what had happened, and I'll tell you what happened in this life, was I was a Quaker, hiding my readings and energy work and work we do. And I was lynched on my own farm, and I was hanged, and my husband hanged me, all my family and friends, everyone betrayed me.
Wow.
And they were, and they were all there. And so I see it vividly. And so, as I say, you know, that experience with that traumatic life, there's so many components to it that it would be a whole other separate podcast. But just with Erin's work, you know, it was the beginning, and I'll tell you how I realized it's the physical body showing you the way. Is that I was, she guided, I told her what I was seeing in front of me. I said, I'm standing there with the noose on my neck. I could feel it, you know, and I could see myself. And I was, you know, traumatized by the betrayal.
Right.
Betrayal is a theme in my current life as well, right? So when you think and make these connections with things, and it doesn't always have to be someone's past life. It could be serious. It could be this life. But this particular concern for me was a different life. And anyway, so Erin, she said, you know, take the noose. She goes, I'm going to help you. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to take this. Let's take the noose off your neck. And so, like, during the session, I visualized, I could see myself taking it off my neck and setting it aside. And we wrapped up the session. You know, other things that happened, but wrapped it up. Generally, that was it. And on my way home that day, like, I remember feeling amazing. I felt amazing after the session. I had experienced, like, oh, it was just like someone had just put, you know, acupuncture all through my neck. It was just activated and flowing, and it was amazing.
Wow. So your neck, you lost the tension that you had in your neck. Was it almost immediately?
Well, that day, immediately. Now, it taught this can teach a lot of people, even energy practitioners, that leaving things may not always be the best as well. So when I left there, I did feel amazing. My neck felt amazing, and maybe for a little while after. But then what started to happen very shortly after that, maybe a few months or whatever, was I started getting a lot of acne all around my chest, really bad, and on my back, right up below my neck and all across.
Do you believe energy was moving?
I didn't know what. I didn't even at the time, because I wasn't really aware that way. I didn't really make the connections that it was the same thing. I just thought, what the heck's going on? I didn't ever have acne ever. You know, I have it everywhere, and it was really bad. And I was so embarrassed I couldn't wear bathing suits. Like, it was bad. And so that was a continued journey for that. And then I went to a guy. I took my mom, actually. My mom was always sick, right? I told you, I was back east. I took my mom to a guy. He was a medical doctor, retired, but he had gone to Sri Lanka and trained there, and as a he would do muscle testing. I can't remember what he called himself, but in any case, I went there to take my mom to him to help her with, you know, different allergies or maybe medications, because he could, you know, he was doing muscle testing, what medications were better for your body, and etc.
Exactly.
So I was in the room with her when he was working with her, and he came behind me with my shirt on. He didn't look or anything, and he says, "Oh," I was like, he goes, "Can I look at your back for a second?" And I was like, "Yes." And he lifted it up, and I was like, he goes, "I can help you with that." And I'm like, "Really?" So I tell him the story. He sees me right then. My mom was there as a witness. And he says, "Well, I'm just going to do a little treatment of gua sha." He said, he goes, "No, I don't." He goes, "I don't know about what you're saying." He says, "But I'll just tell you that if I do this on you, it's gonna it'll show through your skin." He said, "What's happened was what you're telling me." He says, "You've gotten trapped bacteria, like old blood, basically was stagnated from that energetic holding. And when we released the noose, we released energetic holdings through through the blood that has bacteria." He said, "It's festered on your skin. This gua sha treatment is going to help." Okay, he's like, "It's going to look like I beat you black and blue when I'm done. And it's just a very gentle treatment." I was like, "Okay." So then he does the gua sha. It's a buffalo bone, right? But he was he had some skill, this guy. So anyway, he did the push on my back and he goes, oh, and I'm like, what? And he gets the mirror, and my mom was there, and he showed me the mirror, and there was black and blue, like he said, like really my back was just amazingly black and blue. And then he had, but then what was completely white with no redness or anything was the noose mark, a complete clear and evident noose in the back. And my mom couldn't, I was like, I told you, Mom. I told you.
Wow.
And that was a moment where I was kind of convinced that, all right, I'm not seeing things. I'm not, what I'm feeling is 100%. I just need to be affirmed. I was affirmed by him.
Yes, yes.
And so after that, you know, it started clearing up, and there was some more other work around that life. But I mean, those were the biggest moments I thought were pretty cool. And
well, Danielle, I want to mention something here because you have a quote that I found. I didn't always see life in the infinite, beautiful way I do now. I'm not a guru, just someone who followed their inner voice. And with every profound experience, continuously gave myself permission to dive in deep with an open heart. So I'm assuming that would be one of those moments.
Absolutely. And, you know, on the side, I was always into, like you, I was always into astrology, and I was always about what's your sign, and, you know, all that kind of stuff fascinated me, you know.
Yeah, and it's an interesting topic with the friends and stuff too, because they're curious. They're always usually curious, and then looking up your boyfriends or people you're dating is always fun as well.
Always. So then, you know, so you're open to stuff like that anyhow. And so and then I guess another moment I think is important to kind of talk about, or is kind of neat to talk about, is just when I really kind of started working on looking into energy work. And I was raft guiding and doing again the group homework at the time, and doing wilderness trips with kids and stuff. So just that component was being blossomed. But then the energy work kind of was just, like I say, the universe just showed me the way on that. I was out in Drumheller, Alberta, out visiting a friend. Actually, the people who own the raft camp that I worked for, they said, come out and visit. And I was like, okay. And then they had to work. And I said, well, what am I going to do today while you guys are working? And she says, oh, there's a little, you know, a little spiritual shop downtown. She does card readings, and she has a little gift store if you want to go down there. I thought, okay, I'll go down and check it out.
Great.
So I go down and asked her when she had time to do a reading, and the lady said, you know, she booked me in, and I went in that day, and she had made arrangements too to schedule me in because I was from out of town too. She wasn't going to see me, and I was like, oh, from out of town, is there just any way you could do it? Okay, come in. So I go in, and anyway, at the time she does a reading for me, and everything was really accurate, and you know, it was really, you know, an uplifting, nice reading. But you know, at the time I wasn't really buying into that, because, you know, you're charging me. These people are just wanting money. You know, my dad's ear was here, and he was saying that's foolishness and things like that. And so I just went in, you know, I was like, whatever. Okay, yeah, you told me a few accurate things about the boyfriend I was dating at the time, and this and that. So then I get to the counter. She charged $80 or something for the hour, or whatever it was. And I get to the counter, and she says, I'm not going to charge you for this. And I was like, what do you mean you're not going to charge me for this?
Right.
And she says, because they're telling me that you need to get this book. And if I charge you, you're not going to get the book. And I was like, really? And she wrote it down. It was Barbara Ann Brennan's Hands of Light.
Yes. I know that book.
And this is, of course, mid-20s, right? So I said, well, whatever. Okay. And then she said, she's not charging me. And I walked out, and I just was so puzzled by that, that of course I had to go get the book. And then I didn't read the book for a long time. I read a few pages. I had no idea what Barbara was talking about, and it just went phew. So readiness wasn't there. And then it was maybe even a year later, I don't know when, but I pick up the book and I read it cover to cover, and I start doing the exercises. And I realized that what I was seeing in the atmosphere and what I was experiencing, Barbara actually put the words. So then I was affirmed even more, because Barbara felt it and seen it too. So I can see globules in the air, and I can see auras around the trees, and really magnificent kind of gassy stuff going on in the atmosphere a lot of times. And I just dismissed that until I read Barbara's book. And then I thought, wow, no, there's something to this. And so
Isn't it
then
amazing how we're just taught to just not acknowledge our gifts or think that we're imagining things, and we have such great potential for amazing things, but we just discredit it until we need proof after proof after proof
yeah,
to verify it to us that it's happening.
right. And what's really weird is that I was always saying that stuff. Okay, well, because I was raised Catholic. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm spiritual now, and I know what I know in terms of source and universe, but I really believe that was a lovely base, because it was just I'm happy in a way that I found that I know what I know about,
Yeah, exactly.
Christ. And
Your journey, your specific, unique journey. And
Mhm.
when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about you being published in the Woman of Spirit Anthology, volume number 2. And we're also going to talk about your channeling. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to know more about that as well. And we'll be right back.
Feeling stuck and need some practical guidance to put to use right away? I have been helping friends, family, and clients with spiritual guidance for years, and now I am opening this option to others that follow and resonate with what I have to offer. You can send your question to transform@howtohealnetwork.com, and I will answer it without using your name, so that maybe it can help someone else that wanted to ask but felt too shy to do so. Again, send your question with Mika, I have a question, in the subject line to transform@howtoheal.com. We are all here to do something specific and unique to our original blueprint. Soul contracts can clear up questions you have about yourself and others while putting you on the right path that is uniquely yours. It speeds up the work of self-development exponentially and gives you practical tools for daily living. To learn about or experience a soul contract reading, go to www.MikaLeone, that's MikaLeone.com, and get your free 15-minute consult to find out if a soul contract is right for you.
And welcome back to How to Heal. We are here with Danielle Dufour, and we're going to be talking now about Danielle's publishing in the Women of Spirit Anthology, volume number 2, and her channeling abilities. So I'll let you go ahead and lead us in, Danielle.
Okay, great. Well, I thought maybe we'll just, in terms of the channeling, Mika and I were just saying that, everyone has the ability to do what I'm doing. I truly believe everyone has the ability. Now, whether your sole purpose or your mission in this life is to be a practitioner, that's a different story. But we all, as humans, have this ability to connect with higher self, with source, with creator, whatever most resonates with you in terms of who you're feeling you're connected with. Some people it's angels. My feeling is we're accessing all of them at the same time, because what I channel and what I access is, I'm terming a quantum line of communication that is direct and instant with source itself. And along the way, it's like, intention funnels out various angels, various guides in terms of what your own intention is, or what my intention is for a particular question or situation. So if I say, I only want guides that are going to support me in this particular situation today to step forward. Anyone else trying to play games, mess with me, have a little fun, just step back. And sometimes you do have different guides and spirits that will come in. And so it's important to have a really strong, loving, light intention on everything that you do. So for my readings, my channeling, that is number one.
Did your channeling start after you read Barbara Brennan's book, or did it happen a little further down the line?
Really just, I think with quantum touch and becoming a practitioner over time, and then of course, with Barbara and Brennan's book, I just started practicing all of her
Exercises.
exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And then yoga teacher training, honestly, and teaching yoga is what really got me realizing that I was channeling. And then I taught long enough and for many years, so I was able to have opportunity to set intentions in different ways so that I could confirm to myself that, okay, I would say I wanted attention to be funny today in class, or I would say I'd like intention to bring insight, or I'm just going to surrender my intention to source, whatever I would do just to see what would happen.
Right.
And give myself, like, really, even coming on the show today, I have no idea what's going to happen. So it's like, maybe I'll freeze up. Maybe no one will come. I don't know. But like, you've got to give yourself a chance to experience it. And if you don't hear a message, it's not like you're something wrong with you. It's just that perhaps there's some layers that need to be lifted before you're able to really tune in.
Yeah, like
so what I like to
be open.
Yeah. And so like I just told you guys a little bit, just a little sample of a few experiences for me that opened my eyes what it does is it creates your experiences that you allow yourself through meditation, through self-development, through various kind of exercises, group work, or what have you, will give you the affirming to create the knowingness. And it's when you have absolutely no waver of faith, absolutely none, where it doesn't matter your worst day, you can laugh at because you know that it's for a reason. That's the kind of tough stuff I'm talking about. And it takes time to get there. Everyone, it does. And even in my life, catching myself in a moment of frustration and being like, oh, now what's this about? And changing your perception of yourself. So absolutely everything that comes to you is for your learning. So when you stop, take a moment to ponder that. It's not like you've got to dwell on it forever, but you just got to notice it for a second, observe.
There goes that stop and pause again. Just not reacting and stopping and pausing.
Yeah, and you go through the limbs of yoga. Observe self, right? Pranayama. You got to breathe. How many people, any breathwork coach will tell you that if you're teaching people to breathe, a lot of people, you don't breathe. I'm like, how are you walking?
And if you're frustrated, one of the first things to start doing is either shallow breathing or barely, like you said, barely breathing at all if it's not shallow.
Exactly.
And it's the opposite of what you should be doing. So yeah, you're right.
And when you think about yoga, people think, oh, I don't know. If you've never practiced yoga, I always say everyone can start. It doesn't matter what level. If you can't do something, what do you do? Fall out of the pose or lie out, and people feel like this obligation to kind of have to do the whole class, and you have to do it this way. It's like, no, man.
Yeah.
Yoga is about
body awareness. I found that as long as it brings you back to center in your body and you can feel your breath moving through your body and you're consciously in your body. I think it's more about that, not necessarily getting the poses perfect. You
absolutely.
You hurt yourself, but you can stay in a position that allows you to be relaxed and just be present in your body. Yeah.
And yoga, what it does is it prepares your mind for meditation. Okay. And I think it's really important for people to remember that. Preparing the body for meditation. So a whole hour of preparing your body to get quiet and meditate. So sometimes people, what'll happen is they'll say, well, I can't meditate. I don't know how to stay calm. I keep thinking thoughts. Well, yeah, but if you first tried skiing, could you ski really well the first day? No, you probably fell down a few times.
You know what, Danielle, you're correct about that, because a lot of people don't give it enough time. It's amazing, certain things, they want instant results. And
exactly.
But it you didn't get there instantly. So how do you think you're going to, it's like, oh, well, if I can't sit here for 15 minutes for, within a week, I'm done. I'm just not going to do any at all.
You know what? Exactly. And then they give up, on themselves. And then we get caught in our regular world of collecting energies that don't even belong to us.
And
sometimes.
Wonder why things work out the way that they're working out.
Or why you're stressed, or you can't talk, can't sleep.
Yep.
So yeah, so yoga is a way to really, what I say to people is we're stirring up emotions in the body through the physical experiences, and then we get quiet to allow, uh, the emotions to surface. And oftentimes, people leave out yoga angry, or you stir up anger in
Yes.
the hips, right?
Yes. Drink that water.
Emotion hides. And so when you're stirring up, you haven't moved off the couch or whatever, and you come in and you stir it up, and then you wonder why you're not really, oh, that yoga class, I didn't like that teacher or whatever. Well, sometimes it's just like, oh, what did I stir up today? Like, that's
Exactly. And that Mick brings up a good point, because a lot of times people just need to move, like those energies are stagnant in their bodies and they just need to move that energy. But like you said, they just happen to get angry with you because you're the first one that makes that energy move. And so it comes out with you.
Yeah, it could. It could, but they could leave joyous. They might start laughing too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting, but that can really, and I mean, we talk about yoga, but when I was working in the group homes, we would do these long hikes, and it was therapeutic because we wouldn't say anything. And all of a sudden we're at about 3.5 hours or 4 hours into the hike, and this kid would just have his major meltdown, start losing his shit, and start losing his mind. And you can edit that one out. Starts losing, really getting upset, like real emotional, take me back right now, like I am not doing this anymore. And what it was is there's time in the quiet mind to think. So you're at a 3 or 4 hour mark of breathing up a hill, of getting a little exhausted, tired, the body, right? Stir it up.
Right.
And then the emotions surface. And I learned that there. And taking multitude of kids in different groups out in the same location where they would melt down at the same time, different kids.
Like how they tell you to meditate if you can, preferably the same time of day if you can do it.
You know what I mean? All those connections, I was watching that and observing that. I'm thinking, interesting.
That is interesting.
So what it told me was, the body is physically, like it's exerting a little physical exercise. You're getting the breath work, and you're stirring up, like, you got to think of the body. It's collecting emotions. It's holding them. And one of the things I think, before we even talk about the channeling, that I really think is important to talk about in terms of healing yourself and physical healing, is that it is more looking at your, I lost my train of thought right there, jeepers. I know I was kind of picking up something there. What was I?
There you go.
Just in terms of the physical body and what it can show you, right? So when we're holding emotions that we haven't either been able to debrief or given ourselves permission to feel, they get stuck. And I always say, to people, well, if you tell someone something, you feel fine about something, and you really feel a different way, where do those emotions, the truth, where do they go? Right? And so they go in the body. And so then over a period of years, perhaps lifetimes, then the holdings, and they build up like the layers.
Right.
So we've got to allow ourselves to notice the physical body, stir it up a little bit, and not be afraid to go where we're a little bit uncomfortable. Okay? The discomfort is where we want to go, like with a flashlight, really shining bright.
Like the shadow work, exactly. Yeah.
And instead of what we do, our population have been taught, you feel an ache, you feel a pain, you feel anything, go get cover it up with some medication or some Advil or something that actually is terrible for you, right? So you'll never uncover what your body's showing you.
No, and what's probably is part of the point. That if you heal, then they have no clients.
Exactly. If you feel great,
yeah, there's
totally.
no reason to take the meds or see anybody because you feel great. So if they can get you to suppress it, it also leads into another issue when you start suppressing the other ones.
Well, exactly. And so that, and so it is getting a little bit, in the discomfort. And if your body is feeling and experiencing something, some type of a dis-ease, then that's what you got to look at inside. Anyway, so that's, to me, and our system is created to suppress our gifts, because that's our power.
Yeah. I
And so,
definitely do that. Yes.
yeah. And so with the channeling, that's where I'm saying everyone has the ability. We are all like a vibrating magical being. We're vibrating beings. We come here in these bodies, in this vessel, so that we are able to feel, touch, smell, experience emotions. Because in our translucent state, in our when we're on the other side, when we're in that that high vibrating frequency, which is the other side, right? Which is source, all loving souls, then we don't have that ability. So that's what we're doing. We're growing, we're learning. And so and we come here specifically to do that. So then when you can change that perception of yourself and actually start to know that through and then give yourself those time to make connections with experiences that you'll have through quiet, through meditation, through group work, yoga, whatever, so through a hike, if that's what you choose to do. But just getting still and counting on you, then I truly know that people, all of us, can connect to the same thing that I connect to.
And now when you channel, are you using cards? Like some people use like cards to channel whatever is going to come through.
Yeah, I started using cards, and I still do. What I find with cards is it helps the clients feel comfortable. So because if I was just sitting here telling you what I was feeling or seeing, then sometimes people think, oh no, what can she see? Can she read my mind? Does she know what I'm thinking right this second? It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Not for me anyway.
Right.
What I tend to feel is things that happen for me through when I work with clients is that it all depends on their intention. So if someone says, yes, I'd like for you to do a session with me, and I really, I've never done any of this stuff before. I don't really believe in it, but I'll just see where it goes. But maybe they don't have a really strong intention of believing that it's going to work.
Yeah.
Then it's not going to work. Whatever clarity they have around what they want. And so it starts with the who am I, what do I need? What do I want? How deep does love go? Every single person, you haven't journaled, who am I? That's a start. That's how you start to get intuitive. That's how you become more intuitive with your own health. Who am I? What am I? And, you could write pages and pages. And if you think, oh, no, I couldn't. Yes, you could once you give yourself the time and the phone's not ringing or things aren't interrupting you. But the getting to know you will lead to your strong intuition. That'll just magically happen, just like that. Getting to know you. And people are like, well, how's that going to work? Even when I went to social work, the whole first year in social work is about you, your family. And I remember, even the kids would say, because I was 30, right? And the other kids were like, some of them were teenagers that were there. And they were, why do we have to know about our own families? What does that have to do with social work and helping other people? It's like, well, getting to know your triggers, right? Getting to know you
their
deeply,
families. Yeah.
right? So interesting. A lot of the kids, that were in social work, were there for social work. We're there to be counseled. Yeah.
Yeah.
But readiness, right? And whatever, that was their journey. That was perfect. They're probably doing something wonderful now, those kids,
Exactly.
But yeah, like it starts with getting to know you and then developing it and getting yourself some practice time.
That sounds awesome. Any channeling courses, book, or anything like that you recommend for anybody who is like, you know what, I feel like this is something that I'm drawn to and I feel like it's a calling for me. Where should I start?
Well, I am coming up with some dates on what I call it's Energy Healing 101. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of more of a self-work.
Yes, you got to begin with yourself.
To practice your intuitive skills, because everyone has them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have not a course set up right now in terms of a date, but we do. I do biweekly public offerings that we can that I can let you know the dates coming up, and we can
Oh, perfect.
definitely offer something around that. And it's for
Yes.
free. Just people can show up and do a little hour or two session.
That sounds good.
But yeah, the channeling, that's how it started. And then again, like I say, I feel like everyone can do it, and I don't want to dismiss my own gift, but at the same time, I love to empower others. And I think that yeah, do you want to show everybody what we do and
Yeah, and we're all at different levels
do a
and
reading?
experiences in life too. Are you there, Danielle? Did I
That's
lose
the
you?
thing. But I think it's giving you. All right.
Okay, Danielle.
Yes. So so just back to what we were saying about the channeling. So again, yeah, I really want to encourage everyone, even though like we're talking about, what I can do. Everyone can do this. And as I say, just starting with, even breathing, starting to notice your own breath. Take a yoga class. Do anything for personal self-development. Anything from and then that's the journey that it starts, is recognizing absolutely everything about you and what you need,
Yeah.
and then all of these. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean, go ahead, Mika.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, it's a perfect way to start. More self-awareness, and then go from there.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Danielle. Yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, more self-awareness is a great place to start.
Yeah. So Mika had a question then that she had given to me. Do you want me to do a little channel for your question that you had, Mika?
Yes, I think it'd be really good for the audience and to see what kind of work you do as well. So my question was, how can I live in alignment with my highest good?
Okay, so it's going to take me a second to do this. I'm just going to. Okay, so Mika, your message is really short and sweet, but it seems like I was like waiting. I'm like, not much is coming because, well, I'll just read it to you. So Mika's question was, how can Mika live in alignment for her highest good? And the answer was, everything you do is in alignment. You need to get outside more and away from your computer. Your abilities will expand when seated by the earth. Enjoy your gifts and continue to dive deep as you are. Alignment comes from balancing you, finding the balance that makes you find the most joy. There is much to be done over the coming years. Your efforts and role are as unique as your spirit. Much will be discovered and much to be shared. Be joyous in what you do and simply be your highest, most positive self. Loving you so very much.
Oh, wow, how sweet. And yes, I there's a fine balance between being on the computer and getting out and earthing, but that's one of my practices I do in the morning when I get up. I go out and I put my feet on the ground as soon as I get up in the mornings, and then I take breaks in between off of my computer and do that. But yes, it's always a good reminder um to center myself and ground, especially in this age of technology. We're online so much, and even more so, no
Yeah, you
doubt.
don't realize you're collecting there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
that's pretty cool. And
It's very cool.
well, most of the messages that I'll get are always about affirming what people already know about themselves,
Mhm.
but it just is something like a message where if you hear it, it's that whole rule, if
It
you hear
rings
something a
true.
few times,
Yeah, it rings true to you.
right, and
Exactly.
you feel
It's
the resonance
affirmation.
of that truth, and you feel that.
Mm-hmm. It's affirming. It's affirming. Like, yeah, like you said, you feel like, oh yeah, this is giving me a hint that yes, I'm going in the right direction. Yes, things are moving forward the way they're supposed to. Yeah, and I feel this already.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people who just give up a little bit too quickly. It's like, be patient with yourself, and
Oh
and if
yeah.
there's and especially if there's anything going on physically, if the body's got to the point where there's something physically showing you like a discomfort, and there's a bit of layer there.
And now you
And
use
that's,
these as well with you marry, you actually do marriages as well. Now, do you give messages,
yes.
channel messages to your clients with that?
When I, wow, it's kind of funny what I do. Yes, I channel my writings for their scripts.
Oh,
And
cool.
I also will say, I just put out, I've learned to surrender my intention a long time ago. And I will just say, let me be there in the way that, Jane and John need me to be.
Hmm.
What do I need to wear for Jane and John today? And I'll stand in my closet and then I'll go and I'm like, oh my gosh, that matches exactly what they have. So it's kind of neat how just tell me what I need to wear. And people get freaked out by that, but I think everyone can do that. It's just if you listen, what are you hearing? And where's the message coming from that you're hearing?
That is awesome. So this is amazing work. And so you said you've got a class coming up, but you're not sure exactly what the dates or anything are yet. Is that
Not
correct?
yet. I can let you know. Well, I know there's I'm doing an energy healing 101. I can let you know, Mika, and you can tell your people. If
Audience.
anyone wants to have a channeled message, though, I would be happy to just
And
email me and
yeah.
I'll email them back.
And let me know how do they get a hold of you? What's your best way to
You
reach
can
you?
email me.
I know
You can
your
email me at
website is, I think your website, I believe, is lifeenergy.net.
lifeforceenergy.net.
Lifeforceenergy.net.
Mm-hmm. You can get a hold of me
it's
through the website.
exactly how it's spelled. Lifeforceenergy.net.
Yep. And yeah, so there's a few other things I could talk about, Mika, but I don't know if we're kind of wrapped up. It was.
What would
Are
you
you
like
able
to leave
to?
everyone with? What would you like to leave everyone with thinking about before you leave? And of course, you've got, so again, another diverse background to where we probably need to have a whole another interview again on another line or road to talk about some of your other work.
Well, we need to talk about that. I could tell you a few little things about my the past life that we talked about today, that one situation, just over a period of the years that went through, and things that had happened that were pretty interesting. But yeah, I guess, today, thanks so much for having me on. And I really, biggest thing, I think from my point of view and what we're all living in right now, and what we're seeing happen, is to always remember that your thoughts are powerful, that what we really believe about ourselves is truly important, that your voice, is important, and what you think. People think it's just little old me, it's just little old me. If I don't show up or if I don't go, what would matter? No one will miss me. But yes, they will. And the more empowering is if you show up and you say yes to something that maybe you weren't sure of, or something that maybe could open a door for you. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. You just got to show up for yourself. And there's not much to do if you take off the whole worrisome aspect and what's going to happen and this and that and all these thoughts.
Yeah.
If you just show up with an open heart for your moments.
Isn't that so true? And it sounds like it's such a little thing, but it's not. It's major. Yeah, when it comes to being available for life, because you miss so many opportunities if you shut yourself down, or just like you said, or just not show up.
And that's internal work, right? That's inside, because that's, the old stories that we told ourselves, hopefully you're telling yourself a story over and over. Maybe that you don't matter. It's a big theme right now. We're not being heard, right? Not being seen, not being heard. So working through third chakra, working through fifth chakra, pretty powerful stuff. It's pretty traumatic stuff coming out. Yes. And that art goes back and forth. So one minute you might feel really good. The next minute you're like, oh, crying, bawling mess. Well, that's okay too, because that's exactly, crying and doing that back and forth is perfect, because the energy's moving, it's coming out. It's like we talked about, like we're stirring it up, and then pop the champagne top off and let it just come out, just little by little, or sometimes it'll pop like a fizz. But sometimes it'll just ooze out, and that's okay too. And that's another, no judgment of how you're feeling right now, because wow, right?
And we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah. The
You don't
second
come
you
into
start to give yourself permission to feel, things will
it.
change.
Exactly, feel, because we always try to escape, and I think that's a lot of times we talked about childhood, and I'm sure you learn classes with this with social work and stuff like that. There's so much that happens in our childhood we disassociate from, and we don't want to feel because we want to escape whatever those bad moments that happen to us.
Well, and this is exactly it. And that's why emotions get trapped, is because children are not able to process the emotions that occur like that. Any trauma, will literally, when a child will freeze, well, that emotion freezes inside them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and the work that Mika and you and I do, it's like, what I've learned is that emotion, it's not like, you have to have be re-traumatized and talk about your childhood or anything like that. You simply have to sit in parts of the body, in various energy centers. You can sit in the root chakra, you can sit in sacral, solar plexus, literally in meditation, sit there longer than you think you should with breath and ask a few questions to yourself, or even just what comes up, because chakras are developmental, right? So
Right.
when we're, born to about 7, root chakra, right?
Mhm.
8-ish, this is general, 8-ish to say,
14, 15, yeah.
12,
Mhm.
sacral, yeah. And if up here in the solar plexus is a lot of our, adolescent times and different types of things that happen as a teenager. And if you've ever meditated with kids, a teenager will typically look out, you'll be fine doing meditation all the way up to about throat chakra. And then they'll look off like they don't even know what's going on. They'll just start gazing off. It's because it's developmental and they're not quite there yet, right?
Right.
So we have to give, and so I've learned just sitting in the chakra will bring forward either an emotion, or it could bring forward an actual memory. And then, and then it's like, shine the flashlight there. Don't
That would be
run.
a good class to have around chakra work and stuff, just for people. That's a good base class for getting back in your body and feeling. Yeah, and I like to do it with the essential oils and stuff like that, and the breath work. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Totally. We should talk about that, Mika. We can set
Yes.
something up where we
Yes.
can do a component of it, because
Mhm.
agreed. I mean, and you don't have to know anything about a chakra, I think we should
Right.
mention too, right?
Yeah.
Like, even having the base idea that, okay, we're more than we've been taught, right? Let's explore that
Yeah,
and see
exactly.
how we feel.
Everything is energy. Let's see how that energy work within the realms of your aura and your body and that kind of thing. And so yeah, you can go from there.
Right. And once you start feeling things for yourself, like if you're running energy and you feeling, kids will say, if you teach them, run energy on the palms, like hold your hands out in front of you and, like as if you had something you were holding.
Yeah, like a ball or something. Yeah.
Right. I've heard kids say so many times, oh, if I say, what's that feel like? They'll say, oh, it's lightning bolts, or it feels really like electrifying. And they'll describe exactly what it
Right.
is. So
Yeah.
adult,
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, this has been awesome, Danielle. We can
So
talk for
thanks.
hours. I know
I
it,
know.
but
I love
all
talking to
night
like-minded.
with a cup of tea and yeah, and just talk. This is exciting, and yeah, definitely I'm gonna want to have you back on because then we can go from another angle as well. And so, to tell us again how to reach you and anything else you want them to know before we go.
Okay, so yes, please reach out if anyone wanted to have a reading or have a session, an integrative session, or anything like that, or just wanted to get married. There's a lot of things we can do. But no, if you want to reach out, I'm just kidding. If you want to reach out to me though, lifeforceenergy.net. And then my email is lifeforceenergy888@gmail.com.
Easy to remember.
Yeah.
Lifeforceenergy888 at Gmail.
@gmail.com. Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, perfect.
Anytime.
get
Thanks
to
a lot, Mika.
talk with you. I know, and I'm looking forward to all of us getting to know each other. All of us are, like I was mentioning before, this is interviews of all the amazing women that were in the Women of Spirit Volume 2 coming out March 1st. And yeah, it's going to be fun. We've been talking about possibly doing a television channel or something. I'm sure you saw that about teaching different classes and stuff from the different women and their different yeah, I think that's going to be amazing.
Well, I think that I agree. I think it's wonderful, and we can help each other and support each other and get our message out to the world.
Yeah, like we're doing right now with you guys. So thanks for listening in today, and you were watching and we're listening to, actually. We are watching each other. We are listening to Danielle Dufour, and yeah, you can check her out at
lifeforceenergy.net.